Welcome to the Joyride Podcast. I am so excited that you are here with me today. My name is Rebecca Joy. I'm a life coach, a motivational speaker, and your host. This is a space where we get real, we get raw, and we certainly are getting very honest with ourselves. Here we're talking about real growth. I'm talking the kind that changes how you see yourself, how you trust yourself, and how you decide to move throughout your life. We are exploring confidence, embodiment, intuition, identity, wellness, and the inner work behind real life transformation. You do not need to have it all figured out to be here because trust me, I certainly don't. There is no pressure to perform or become something or someone else. This podcast is meant to feel like home. It's a place where you can come back to and settle in and feel seen and celebrated and really reconnect with what matters most to you. So if you are ready to live with more alignment, certainty, and self-trust, you're exactly in the right place. So let's begin. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the Joyride Podcast. I'm so happy that you are here and back for yet another episode. I started to get really emotional once I sat down to record this episode, and I have been crying all cancer season, which is very much so to be expected because I am a Cancer rising, but sometimes when it comes to recording these podcast episodes, until the day comes when I am in a studio and I'm recording every week and I have a set schedule and I know I can get ready and I can look forward to it at the same time every week, I really just let myself record at a time and space that feels really good for me. I used to put myself on a schedule and it just never really flowed that way. Just the way that like my brain operates, like I just have to be in a very much so like giving place where I'm like ready to share what's on my heart and what's on my mind. And you know, with moving to Miami, I've been trying to put myself on more of a schedule, even though there are so many things in my life that are up in the air right now. And I've been wanting to get back into a more regular cadence of giving you weekly episodes. But I was putting off this week's episode because I really like to marinate on what I am sharing with you. I really take this time on the mic very, very, very seriously. And sitting down tonight just made me really emotional because it truly is such a joy for me to be able to share how I feel with you and to be able to share what I am thinking, my insight, my experiences, my wisdom. Like my eyes are watering right now because I truly do not take this role lightly, and I am manifesting this podcast turning into something because I genuinely just love talking. Like coming from a Virgo sun, Gemini moon, like I've always said, if I could just be paid to be me, aka be paid to talk, like that would be the biggest gift in the world. And I just am so incredibly grateful to be able to share my gifts, my light, and my energy with you. And I just like so wish the same for you. And, you know, being in the entrepreneurial space for so many years, I hear a lot of people talking about wanting to put themselves out there and wanting to go after these things, and they're scared and this and that, and they have their full-time jobs. And it's just like, you know, I don't think that there is one set answer for me to give to anyone. I have been putting myself out there for years and years and years, and I still feel like I'm at the very beginning stages, and I can see, because I have the foresight, you know, to know where all of this is going to go. But it is scary and it is hard, and you do have to prioritize it and you do have to make the time for it. And I know that I used to be really hard on myself, and I would just sit here and be like, well, people aren't paying attention, and I'm not getting this, and I'm not making this money, and I'm not getting, you know, these opportunities, yet I'm pouring so much of myself into it. And it's really hard. It's very challenging and it's very hard. But if you feel really called to do something, I just want to urge you that you have to make the time for it, and you have to prioritize, you know, putting yourself out there and making your gifts known. I even was talking to one of my very best friends today who I don't talk to as often as I would like. And she's a soul sister of mine. And I was telling her about the transit of Jupiter moving from Cancer to Leo. And she was talking about wanting to get into UGC and being more active on social media. And I was like, girl, the universe will reward you for being seen. And I know that I briefly touched upon it in last week's episode, but now that the transit has been made and Jupiter is in Leo for the next year, life is going to reward you by wearing your heart on your sleeve, by putting yourself out there, by being vocal, by standing in the light, by standing on, not just on stage, but allowing yourself to be center stage, allowing yourself to be seen and to fully shine in all of your glory. And we've had such an amazing year with Jupiter being in Cancer, but now I have this very strong feeling that when it comes to people falling in love and like their career, like money and love are very much so tied. And I feel like I have done a lot of work internally on myself over the past few years as I've fully opened myself up to receiving partnership and receiving love and really receiving my husband and like welcoming that energy into my life. And I've met with several psychics and healers, and people have told me like, your career is going to take off once this partner and this person is in your life. And so I have really come around to understanding the energetics behind how money and love are very much so tied together. But I will say, for anyone who is feeling this big shift when it comes to putting yourself out there, being seen, just showcasing your gifts with the world. So many people are just so scared to take that first step, to take that first leap, to make that first jump. But the more that you do it, the more comfortable you will become with sharing your gifts. And again, I think it's better for anyone to focus more so on, why do I do this? How does this make me feel? And less on, what am I gaining out of this? And this actually, what I'm sharing has everything to do with the main topic of what I want to talk about in today's episode. And it is about creating space in your life for more blessings to come in, and really allowing yourself to be consistent and build. And I didn't realize that what I was just sharing, has everything to do with this, but it actually does, because when you are building a new relationship, let's say a romantic relationship, or you are starting out in a new career, or you are building your own business, you have just become an entrepreneur, you are building a family, like, it's not something that's quick, fast, and easy. It does not work like that. And I am very much being shown right now through the people that have recently come into my life by moving to Miami, that slow and steady wins the race. And so in today's episode, we're talking all about spaciousness and creating that space in your life for more blessings and more miracles to take place. Side note, let me just give you an update on my life. I have moved into my new place and I am so happy here. My first month in Miami, if you have listened to my past 2 episodes, you will be pretty much caught up, but life has been so magical living here in Miami. And I will say that my first month here very much so felt like Fantasyland, Dreamland, which I'm so incredibly grateful that I had that time to be on the beach and living this very slow, flowy, dreamy type of life. But I felt this really strong pull to be more in the energy and more in the mix of being here in Miami. And I'm now living somewhere that is not directly in the heart of everything. It's a little outside of it, which I'm actually preferring, which is very interesting, because I will say that before I moved here, I had this vision. I'm like, I'm going to live in like Midtown Edgewater and I'm going to be all up in it. And I want to be so close to everyone and everything. And I am a Gemini moon. I'm also a manifesting generator, and I have an open Ajna center, which is the mind center in human design. I changed my mind a lot, and I actually have really grown over the years to like really love and respect that about myself. And I think it's so cool how much I shape shift and how much I adapt and how much I let myself really just change my mind, because I know when I am changing my mind that I'm detached and I'm like letting the universe move me wherever I need to be so that I can find alignment within myself. And it's been really cool to witness that here in Miami, because for the first time in my life, I just have been moving around so much within the past year. I think this is like my 4th move within the past year, and I'm going to move probably again within the next few months unless I like extend this place. And being a Cancer rising, like home is very sacred to me. And I definitely felt when I was living in North Carolina so much resistance against being there. It just like, because where I was living, whether it was at my friend's place or living with my parents, like it just never felt like my home. And I was like, I need to be in my own space. I need to be in my own home. I need to have my own things. And I am just so grateful that I don't feel that way being here, because I've been living in other people's spaces and I brought, things from, I have a lot of my own things, but a lot of my home things aren't mine. And it's been actually really so beautiful and so illuminating for me to feel so attached to the home things, because I very much so have found home within this city. And I know I am able to be that detached because I feel so good here in Miami. And the first month here, getting acclimated, it started to really feel like home after the first 2 weeks. But now being in this second place and I'm in, I feel way more grounded. It feels way more like a home to me. And every day I wake up so incredibly grateful, and I feel like the luckiest woman in the world to be here, to be living this life. And it truly does feel like my home. And I was sharing this with a friend today on a voice note. I have so much love and admiration and respect for younger me, for younger Rebecca, because I am so at home within myself here, and I feel so supported energetically. It has made me realize for how much of my life I have been very unhappy. And I don't want to throw a blanket statement over that, because for so much of my life in Austin, I was happy. And I think I went through several pockets of time in Austin, which I'm totally fine with admitting, where I was seeking something else because fundamentally and foundationally, things were missing for me. And that is okay. And I really, really relied on my routines and my rituals and practices. And I relied heavily on personal development and spirituality and wellness to allow myself to feel at home. And I'm so incredibly grateful that I poured so much of my intention and energy into that, because being here in Miami, so much of my life is just very open-ended right now. I feel like I have somewhat of a semblance of a routine, which I've started to gain back by being in this new place, because in my first place, oh my gosh, like I was not getting any sleep. I had never in my life dealt with so many days on end with lack of sleep. It was actually insane. I'm like, it affected my stomach. It affected obviously my energy every day. And I was like, I don't know how to fix this. I think my body was just not really comfortable living in that space, which is okay. And it's obviously better for me now because I'm out of it and I'm like starting to get sleep back into my life. But, I wake up every day here and I am able to have so much love and compassion towards the Rebecca who worked so hard to get here. And there were so many phases throughout this journey where I was like, I am in so much pain. I need this to be here now. And I'm just so confused why it's not happening now. And something that we touched upon in last week's episode was really preparing for what is to come in your life. And this is not something that I touched upon in last episode. And I thought about it after I recorded the episode, and I was like, shoot, I wish I would have mentioned this, because I really didn't get into like, well, how do you prepare for what you want to happen in your life? And I will say that I don't think that there's a right answer for me to give you. I think only you will know how you prepare. But I will say the ways that I have always prepared for things in my life have been very unconventional. For instance, let's say me moving to Miami. Most people conventionally would say like, okay, get a 9-to-5 job, save up all your money, do this in steps, 1, 2, and 3. Where are you going to live? Find an apartment, apply for the apartment, very much so like that. And I'm sure you can already think about things that you want to do and how maybe some people in your life would approach that. Maybe people who are, skew more towards doing things conventionally or traditionally. I have never been like that. That was not at all how I got to Miami. It was not by me having a 9-to-5 job and saving up all this money. There was absolutely nothing conventional about my plan. And I would have maybe preferred to have somewhat of a traditional plan, but that's just not how things ever have worked out for me in my life, because I think I'm just way too on the opposite end of the spectrum. But I am learning to infuse more of, stability and security and just maybe more grounded ways of going about things. But when it comes to preparing for something, I think you really have to turn inwards and ask yourself, how do I prepare for this in a way that genuinely works for me? And if you don't know, ask for help. Ask to be shown how you prepare. I have been saying this literally every single day, probably since I got to Miami. And I think it's so ingrained in me because I watch so much of Melissa Wood Tepperberg's content and I just love and adore her. And she will say this all the time. It'll show up in her reels or her stories or whatever. It comes from A Course in Miracles, and it's 3 questions. It's asking the creator, where would you have me go? What would you have me say? What would you have me do? And these 3 questions are questions that I've been asking myself every day, like I said, being here in Miami. And it's been really, really helpful for me as I am opening myself up and preparing myself for these really big identity shifts in my life, becoming someone's life partner, opening up myself to new career avenues, new opportunities, meeting new people, just putting myself in new spaces and new energy. But really how I prepared myself being here, I vocalized for many, many months before I got to North Carolina what I wanted to be prepared for, if that makes sense. I knew that I really wanted to start preparing for my husband. That was top of the food chain for me. And so I would say things out loud I want a position where I get to be a personal assistant, where I'm doing this and doing that. And that came into my life so quickly. I was working as a personal assistant for my grandmother's, one of her very good friends, for pretty much the whole time that I was in North Carolina. And I was doing so many things as her assistant that, to me resembled things that I would do in a partnership. And then I moved in with one of my best friends, and we were a married couple. My little brother would joke okay, so are you and Sarah just gonna get married? What's going on? I mean, I was her wife. I would cook, I would clean, I would take care of her in a lot of ways. I would run errands for her. And, at the time I was so focused and so fixated on launching new programs and how was I going to get myself to Miami. I think a lot of times when you're deep in preparation mode, you can have this natural tendency to be focused on other things. I was very much so not focused on being this wife and being kind of this partner, but that's exactly what I was doing. And so now towards the tail end of it, I started to really enjoy how I was being prepared for what I knew was going to come once I moved to Miami. And being here now, it just is so wild to see how God decided to move me and what positions God decided to place me in order to prepare me. So that's why I say it takes, I think there are 2 parts to this. It's sitting with yourself and asking yourself these questions okay, if I want to move, let's say you want to move to Australia, you asking yourself the question of okay, well, how am I going to get there? Are you going to get a job where you are, save up money? Are you going to get an apartment before you get there? Or are you going to go a different route? And you're hey, I just know that I need to get myself there. For me, that was like how I approached Miami. I knew, I was like, I just got to get myself there. By the grace of God, I just need to get there, because I knew with every fiber of my being how much my life would open up in every single way, which it has once I got here, because I knew that I would be supported by this energy and by this environment. And I knew that because, again, part of my preparation mode was taking trips down here. I have been coming down here for years. With each time, that feeling just grew stronger and stronger. And I was putting in a lot of back end work in North Carolina, but things weren't happening. So I got to this point where I had to say, look, I'm making a decision. I just have to go and I just have to be there. But it's asking yourself those questions. How do I want to approach this? And then going ahead and making that decision. But also making it known to the universe, like, I think one of the best things that I've done for myself in my life is if I want something and I don't know how to do it. Let's say that you're like, I've never been in a long-term relationship and I really want to be in a long-term relationship. I don't know how to be in a long-term relationship, but I want you to show me. I want you to put me in a position so that you can prepare me for this, so that I'm able to become this type of person. By doing that, it is so incredibly powerful. Like, I can't even begin to explain how powerful that is, because for so many of us, we are under this assumption that, like, we know what's best and we know everything and we hold all the power and we are, whatever. Don't get me wrong. We are all so incredibly powerful, but there is so much power in just opening yourself up to saying, like, hey, this is what I want to become. This is what I want to be. I've never done that before. This is new for me. It's unfamiliar. It's scary, but I want this. So show me how I can become this. I feel like that was all that I was doing for my 10 months in North Carolina. And that is not an easy feat, to be able to sit there and to admit out loud. You don't even need to say this to anyone, but if you want to say it to your therapist, if you want to journal about it, like, at least just admitting it to yourself, being like, hey, I have struggled in these areas of my life and I don't know how to do this, but I want this. So how can you prepare me? When you do that, you are opening yourself up to being put in positions where you will be prepared for what you want to happen. That is exactly what I have been doing for the past year. And I've talked about this. I've shared about this literally in like every single episode. I have dealt with so many uncomfortable, unfamiliar, deeply challenging, times in my life where I'm just like, I am struggling and this is so fucking hard. But amidst all of that, it was deeply preparing me so that I am able to be here and to feel so alive and to feel so genuinely happy and so excited and to feel so abundant in my life. So that's that. We kind of like went on a tangent there. What I want to get into, which will lead us into what I'm going to share about, is creating space in your life for more blessings to unfold. I am a very deep and very intense person, and I fucking love this about myself. I have my Mars in Scorpio in the 5th house. The 5th house is what rules romance, creativity, like sexuality. It's the home of a lot of life force energy, and having it in Scorpio is like the most intense sign, as we all know, and it's a water sign. So I can go deep and I can go into intense mode very, very quickly. I have always said, like, if you've ever seen me in the gym, like, I'm fucking locked in. Like, that is my home. That is my safety place. I can just dial it in and I feel so alive there. And so I have experienced this frequently over the past, I want to say, like, ever since I moved to Austin, when I started to make new friendships. I would always say, like, I can really sense when I'm meeting someone for the first time or we are connecting for the first time. Let's say we're going to coffee or we're going to dinner or something. Like, if I can sit there and have like a 2.5, 3 hour long conversation with you and we just like go deep and we just like, we're not talking about surface level shit here. Like, we're going in, we're like, it's like the layers of the onion are coming out. I know that you are someone that's going to be in my life, and I love that about myself. I have no intentions of living a life where it's filled with surface level crap. Like, I just don't want that from my friends, from my work, from my partner. I'm just like, who has the time for that? But I do think that because of that, and also being a very emotional person, I have really operated on this level of like, I have to go deep and I have to go intense really, really quickly. And if not, then it's not going to last. And there's something that I'm learning about myself because I'm meeting a lot of these people who have very strong earth energy, whether it's like Virgo or Taurus or Capricorn. I mean, I just listed all the earth signs, but I'm meeting these people, both men and women, who their energy and their aura is very much so like, I want to build this. I am here for the long run, slow and steady wins the race. Like, I have this vision and I have this goal, and they're talking like years down the line. And it's been really eye-opening for me. And I think it's really challenged me in a lot of ways because I have, I think my natural tendencies and my personality is like, well, I just want to go deep and I want to be intense really, really quickly. And I want to be able to name that and identify it. And it's been really cool to be around people who don't operate like that. And I'm learning so much about myself through these new relationships and these new interactions. And, life is like one big mirror. Every single person that comes into our life is always going to act as a mirror for us, and they're going to bring up whatever we need to see within ourselves. And being out of my Saturn return, which God bless, I am now integrating all of those lessons in my life. And I really feel very supported by the energies that I have attracted into my life right now. And it's been really, really cool and really eye-opening because I will say that I have been playing around with this energy, honestly, ever since I moved to North Carolina. My friend Jordan, I had her on the podcast. She is a Sag Sun, let me get this right, Sag Sun, Capricorn Moon, Scorpio rising. And she's a life coach as well. We've had a lot of conversations about like building that steady progress. And from the beginning of this year, I really gave myself a goal of like being more consistent and being more disciplined. I am someone, as I have mentioned, has operated for a very long time. I don't see myself as this way anymore because of the work that I've done, but very much so like highs and lows and like just, again, like deep and intense and like not as consistent with a lot of things in my life. And so one of my main goals for this year was like really taking things in bite-sized pieces and really taking those steps. My biggest goal, which has now been manifested, was moving to Miami. And I felt like I couldn't really attack all of those other goals until this happened. But until I made this move, there were so many baby steps that needed to happen along the way. And now that I have made the move and I'm here, I'm able to now see and look back and be like, okay, that whole time it was stretching me. I was compounding. I was consistent. The way that I chose to go about this journey and how I got here was very unconventional. It was probably not the way that most people would go about moving to a new city and creating a whole new life, but it was the ways I did it in ways that worked for me. But because I had that spaciousness, I allowed myself to really give myself the time and space to be prepared for this to happen. Because we never want to crash and burn. I think one of the best examples that I have to give you is like my past experiences with men, especially when I met men where there was so much lust and so much chemistry involved at the beginning, where it's like everything happened really quickly. Like I meet them, we totally hit it off, I hook up with them, I sleep with them. It was just like a very quick, very fast turn and burn type situation. And as I'm getting older and wiser and better and just, there's so much more maturity that I have within myself now. It's interesting because I'm like subconsciously and consciously like really attracting these people who are like, I'm in this for the long haul, whether it's romantic relationships, friendships, their career, how they're approaching their life. There's like something so sexy to me about like building and growing and seeing that consistency being compounded over time. It has allowed me to feel really, really safe, which is also something that's very new for me because I was so used to just like, I get so excited, I get so intense, I get so deep, but then I experience a lot of burnout. And then it's like, well, then I have to start all over again. So in saying all of that, I wanted to share that because I think for whatever you are working towards in your life, letting yourself have the breathing room. If you are someone that operates like me and you're like, well, I want to go there and I want to get there. And whether it's like you just have so much excitement about a new person in your life, maybe it's, you know, a new romantic relationship or even a new like friendship. Like I have met women where I'm just like, oh my God, I want to like build off of this and I want to hang out with you all the time. And I think it's very easy to feel smothered in that. And like anything that's worthwhile in your life, anything that is meant to last, we do not have to rush it. And it's something that I have been working through over the past few years. And again, I'm like really seeing it head on in my life right now with the people that I'm attracting because it's new for me. It's unfamiliar for me. And I'm having to remind myself like, oh, like maybe actually slow and steady does win the race. And even if we're not getting so deep and so intense right off the bat, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, I think it's great in certain situations. I think a lot of us, especially if you're listening to this podcast, you probably have, you know, a sixth sense about meeting certain people, knowing if they're for you or not for you. But I also see so much good in giving space to new relationships, to new connections in your life, to building things, whether it's a new business or building within your career. Like it just is so easy for us to get so caught up in, I want to go deep. I want this to happen because I'm so excited. You know, I'm so impatient and I just need the title now. I just need to identify with this now. I just need this amount of money now. I need to move here now. We have to do right by ourselves and remind ourselves that anything that is for you is not going to pass you. I've always felt that way, but ever since I moved to Miami, I'm like, holy shit, does that hit on a whole new level? Because being here, being in an environment where I am fundamentally so supported, I'm like, I know for damn fucking sure that anything or anyone in my life that is meant to be in my life is going to show up consistently. It's going to offer me stability. It's going to bring me a sense of safety and peace and stability and make me feel grounded within myself. So if there's any type of flighty fucking energy here, that means that it's meant to go. You know what I'm saying? Like truly anything that's meant for you is going to keep circling you and it's going to keep coming around. And it's really beautiful to see other people be so consistent and to see them work towards something day in and day out. And then when you see yourself doing that, it's like on a whole other level. You know, whether it's you being really consistent with your sleep or the way that you take care of your health or how you're, you know, approaching your career or even navigating a new relationship. Like I have just learned to really, really love being a builder. And I think for me specifically, I have tried on so many different hats and I've had so many different experiences, passions, hobbies, opportunities where I would do something, I would build something really quickly and then I would get over it, which is just like so on brand for me as a Gemini moon and manifesting generator. And I'm like so not mad at myself for how I have been. And I understand that this is a huge part of my energy. And if you are anything like me, you're totally going to relate to this. But I will say that I'm at a point in my life where I feel really comfortable with who I am, what I'm good at, what I want to be spending my time and energy on, whether it's strengthening certain connections and relationships in my life or where I'm pouring my energy into. And I have fully recognized now, Rebecca, your depth and your intensity is one of the most beautiful facets of who I am as an individual. But if something's going to last in your life, let yourself give that space. Let yourself be fully immersed in what is happening in this present moment, because I don't want to skip over any of the steps. Making this move to Miami really taught me that like you can't skip over the steps, because if you do, you're just going to be in that prep mode for so much longer. And listen, like we're always longing for something. We get something, you're like, okay, but I want that. We get this title, you're like, okay, well, now I want to go for that. Or, you become a girlfriend, you're like, okay, well, now I want to be a fiance. Okay, well, when you're a fiance, you're like, well, now I want to be a wife, and it's this and it's that. And like, you have this amount of money. Okay, well, now I want that. It's like taking a step back. I also think this is like so timely with Mercury in retrograde happening right now, which is Mercury retrograde does not end until the 23rd. So side note, I should have mentioned this in the beginning, but if you don't know, now you know. The planet Mercury, which rules communication, is ruled by the two signs Gemini, Virgo. So if you have either of those in your big 3 or your big 6, you are heavily, 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 heavily affected by Mercury retrograde, also being in Cancer. So if you have very strong Cancer energy as well. It is hitting me from every angle over here, being a Virgo sun, Gemini moon, Cancer rising, very much so affected. I am also sensing it. Like, listen, this morning I went to my workout and I was searching for parking for like 5 minutes, and I kind of was just like in my own world, and these two people were crossing the street, and listen, I was not that close to them, but apparently they thought I was. This couple came up to me. It was not even the man. It was this Eastern European woman. She was cussing me out. I mean, I think she called me a cunt. Like, she was going off on me, and I was like, yep, Mercury's in retrograde. Like, communication right now is just so off the charts. It's fuzzy, it's crazy, it feels very chaotic. So if you've been feeling, a lack of energy, you're like, why the fuck aren't people responding to me? Why aren't people getting back to me in a timely manner? That is just what happens during Mercury retrograde. It can also throw a wrench in your travel plans, so whether you're flying somewhere or you're going on a road trip, like, not to scare you by any means, because last Mercury retrograde was actually when I took my trip to Miami, and to be honest, like, it was like smooth sailing for most of the trip. Don't let it get to your head too much. It's just something to be cognizant of. Like, if you are, let's say, like, going to Europe this summer, like, maybe give yourself an extra hour at the airport, like, just in case something happens. But during this time, I always give myself a lot of grace when it comes to not just how other people are communicating with me, but how I communicate with them. Like, I feel like during this time, I'm like, I just don't want to talk to as many people. I'm like, I don't need to get back to people, as quickly as maybe I would in the past, or just recognizing that, like, because communication is huge, like, as human beings, we need to communicate with one another. And so when there's a lack of communication, like, things don't happen as easily. So I remind myself during every Mercury retrograde, like, if things are slower, if things aren't happening quick enough, if opportunities aren't presenting themselves maybe like as quickly as I would hope, I just remind myself, like, okay, girl, it's a few weeks of this. Give people some grace, and we're gonna get back on track. So just wanted to mention that side note about Mercury retrograde. But coming back to what we were talking about with consistency and discipline, and really preparing yourself and allowing yourself to not skip those steps. I have always been someone that has skipped many steps in my life. And this year I was like, I just knew that I wasn't going to be able to skip any steps if I wanted to get myself here to Miami. And listen, I moved here exactly when I thought I would. With 100% certainty, I was like, I think I'm going to move during Gemini season, because I'm a Gemini moon, and it's like such a fun, spontaneous, open energy type of season. I knew that I was going to be out of North Carolina by summer, because I was like, what in the fuckity fuck am I going to do in North Carolina all summer? And I really felt like I had given myself so much space. Truly, like, I was sitting in this energy. I went through many phases in North Carolina. I went through like a grief stage where I was like grieving Austin. I went through a stage where I was doing so much inner healing and trauma work around like belief systems that have been ingrained in me since childhood, and they all came to the surface because that's what happens when you move back in with your parents at 30 years old. I went through that stage. I opened myself up to new friendships and new connections, and I was really, focused on like opening myself up to partnership and becoming that partner for other people before I actually, become a partner for my husband. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like being there for 10 months, it felt like, oh my God, when am I ever going to get out of this? Like those 10 months felt so fucking long. It felt like my life was on this like sacred pause for such a long time. It felt like I wasn't even living my life. I mean, to some people, they would have been like, oh my God, this is the best. You get to spend all this time with your parents and your family and just take it slow. And I have mentioned this several times. I am so grateful that I was able to have that time with my family, with my grandmother, and just like really be slow. But it was very hard for me because I'm a very hyperactive person. I'm a very creative person. I'm a very, I'm driven. I have goals and passions and dreams. And I have always felt like living in suburbia does not give me the space in order for me to live my dream life. But it did give me the space for me to prepare, and it allowed me to fully sink into that season of life that I was in. And it was not easy. It was hard. I did not love it. I woke up every day and I was like, I just don't feel like myself here. I felt ugly. I did not feel pretty. I did not feel like this like beautiful, abundant, sparkly person that I feel being here in Miami. I'm like, damn, I like forgot that I'm like fucking hot and I'm the shit. Like I am that bitch. And I had not felt that way for like almost a year. And it was hard and it was challenging, but I allowed myself to really be in that present moment. So if you are in a position in your life where you're like, this is really good, or even if it's not good, either way, if you're like, this shit fucking sucks, or like, this is amazing, I love my life so much, allowing yourself to give it the space to build and to grow. Because wherever you are at, you know that something better is coming for you, because that's just how life works. Like in my darkest of dark times, I knew that things would get better. And even in the position that I'm in now, I'm like, life is magical. Life has never felt more amazing. I am so incredibly blessed and grateful. But I know that because I feel that way now, more goodness is coming in for me. So I can either choose to fully put myself in the future there and focus on that, or I could really immerse myself in this present moment and say, what I have now is magnificent and it is amazing and I have so much gratitude, and still give myself the space to say, what's coming next is going to be amazing, but I'm not going to future trip and fully put myself there. And it's very easy for us to do that. And I've had to consciously really just remind myself, like, let me just be really good here. Because there are things that I really, really want that have not manifested yet. And so I'm in prep mode for a lot of things in my life, and that's okay. But I've also, moving here has completely shifted my entire life and has opened up me to so many miracles and blessings and things that I've wanted for years and years and years that I now have, that came in really spontaneously and really unexpectedly in my life. And so there's always going to be this duality of like, I can be so grateful for what I have now and give that space, and also know that I can continuously work towards things, but really ingraining in both me and you this idea that like, we don't have to get there fast. And I know if you're listening to this, you maybe have experienced that before, because I sure have with a lot of things in my life. I'm like, I gotta get there fast, because I think I kind of like gaslighted myself into thinking like, okay, well, if there's alignment, it's gonna happen fast. You know what? I agree with that statement, because moving here, again, like, there have been so many things that have come out of the woodwork so quickly where I'm like, whoa, like, this is all happening so quickly. But it didn't, because I was in preparation mode for years and years and years and years and years for me to now be in this position. So you have to look at it from both ends of the spectrum. Like, yeah, for sure, you can move somewhere, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got this amazing job. I like met the love of my life. I have the most amazing friends. Like, life is just so amazing. You know, that can totally happen for you. But at the same time, thinking back, you're like, okay, but wait, like, what did I have to do? Who did I have to become? What steps did I have to take? What consistency did I have to continuously build in order to get myself here? Because when something is meant to be in your life, it's going to stick and it's going to stay. And so for a lot of us, especially if you are, you know, in your early 20s, mid 20s, even like early 30s, so much of this process is just like I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. So it's very easy to go through these very quick cycles of like, I have to get there fast, and I have to get the job, and I have to get the partner, and I have to get the house, and I have to get this, and I have to get that. Life is a gradual process, and it's been so beautiful and so eye-opening to witness my friends as they have met their forever partners, you know, become engaged, become wives, and now mothers, and now purchasing their dream houses. And like, this stuff didn't happen overnight. Nothing good, nothing great is happening overnight. And I know that you've heard this before, and I know that you're probably going to hear it 100 million more times, but like, we're just constantly being fed this illusion of like, oh, things just like happen so quickly. And like, especially in the spiritual community, like if there's alignment, everything's just going to happen so quickly, and this, that, or the other. You are allowed to move at a different pace than everyone else. And for me, I'm learning, like, I'm attracting people who maybe work at like a slower pace than me, but they're so consistent in how they are moving, where I'm like, oh, I'm like actually clocking this, and I'm like seeing how this is actually healthy and safe, because you're moving at maybe a slower pace, but it's gradual and it's compounding and it's consistent. And for me, if I'm like bouncing off the walls and I'm like, I'm high and I'm low and I'm here and I'm there, and it's like, it's been really wonderful for me to have these new energies come into my life where I'm like, oh, you make me like inspired to like put my head down and like build again and be consistent and show up, and like know that if I'm steady and I'm grounded and I'm consistent, that like I will get to where I want to go, because it's inevitable. Not to say that my old ways of being were bad by any means, because I'm just so incredibly grateful for all the life experience that I have gotten. But there is so much wisdom and there's so much maturity in that. And I think it's one of the most beautiful lessons that we do learn from the earth signs. I mean, I get it as a Virgo, and I've spoken about this many a time, especially when it comes to like health and wellness, because that's such a huge thing for me when it comes to changing your body. Like, that is a very slow and steady and gradual process. I mean, my body has never looked better. I'm not even like on a workout plan right now, but it's because my body has, like, it just knows what it needs because of so many years of trying out different things, different type of workouts, eating different ways, different types of training. And my body has massively shifted over the years, but it's taken years, you know? And like, I am really seeing that when it comes to how I am, or how I create a name for myself in this space as a career woman, and sharing more, and, you know, being seen, and having my podcast, and being a coach, and sharing human design, and whatever it is that I do choose to share. I want to be someone that's well known, but I don't want to be just well known for like a few years. Like, I want to stick around for a really long time. And I also want to infuse that energy with my partner and like with my family, and to be able to see us grow and build, and, you know, have this time with my partner, and then grow as a wife and grow as a mother, and then to see how that energy translates into both of our lives together, within his career, within our families, you know, within my career and our community. Like, it just has been so eye-opening for me lately, especially because I was living somewhere for 10 months where I just felt like I was like, I just have to figure out how I get myself out of here. And that really was my main goal. And so now I'm at the beginning stages again, literally, because everything in my life is new. Well, not everything, but, many pieces of my life are new right now. And so it feels cool and new to start off at the beginning again and to be like, okay, we're going to build this. And I was so excited to move here in the summer, which is kind of funny because it's just like so fucking hot here, but I love it because I was ready. I was like, I'm ready to build my life. Like, I don't need to go have a Euro summer. I don't need to go like jet set around and see all my friends. Like, I'm ready to be in Miami. I'm ready to like, put my boots on and like fucking build. Like, I'm ready to build this beautiful life for myself. And I was speaking that for months and months and months before I got here. Like, literally, you can ask anyone in North Carolina. Like, that was always my vision. I was always talking about it. I was always manifesting it. I'm like, I'm going to find my incredible Jewish husband. I'm going to build this amazing community. I'm going to like build, a new career for myself. And I've been speaking it into existence for such a long time. And so I didn't want to waste any time. I was ready to hit the ground running and to build. So that is what I have for you for today's episode. I am just so grateful that you come back every week and you listen to these episodes. And I would love, love, love it if you rated this podcast, left me a comment, and shared it with someone who needs to hear these messages today. Also, want to put it out there that I'm offering human design chart readings. Everything is up on my website. I will leave the link down below to go check that out if you are interested in either a virtual reading. I have a few different options, but I'm also offering in-person readings if you just so happen to be in Miami, because I really miss doing in-person readings. I started to do them last week again, and oh my gosh, it truly is the best to be like sitting across from the person and going over their chart, and just like the energy that you can feel from being in the same room with someone is so electric. So if you are interested in that, all of the information will be down below. But I love you. I hope that you are hanging in there with this Mercury retrograde. We are still in the depths of Cancer season. So if you are feeling extra emotional and you just want to be like homey and preserve your energy and just like hang out and be with your fam and be cozy vibes, like that is what Cancer season is about. I have cried so much this season, like all happy tears, but I'm feeling very much so like I just want to be like in the sun and by the water and just let myself cry and do my like journaling and just be like homey, cozy, comfy vibes. So I love Cancer season for that reason, but it can be almost like a turbulent season for some people. Like in the past, historically, Cancer seasons have been rough for me because I'm just like so effing emotional. So if you are someone that is dealing with a lot of emotions right now, it too shall pass, because after this we are going into fiery ass Leo season, and I love it because we're all just gonna like pop off and be our hottest selves. But I will leave this there. Thank you for being here and listening. I love you so much, and stay tuned for the next episode. Bye.